Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege, as always, to have you guys joining me here today and all of your other fellow movie and TV fans as we celebrate the stuff that we love the most. Listen, this is how today's show is going to go. I got a couple things picked out here I'm going to talk about, but then the majority of this show is going to be dedicated to the topics that you guys have picked out. How do you get a topic or a question on the John Campea Show? It's real simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you put that word topic in the subject line, because if you don't put the word topic in the subject line, I'm not going to see your email. And also, guys, as always, make sure to keep your emails to 90 words or less. If it's any longer than that, I don't even read them, because even if I liked it, I couldn't fit it on the screen physically. So keep it to 90 words or less. And then a whole bunch of you guys watch this show live. And for those of you who are watching live, I'm going to save some time at the end of the show to take your live questions. Here's how you get a live question on my show. You're just going to tweet to me at John Campea. Just start out a tweet and send it off to John Campea. I will let you know as we're getting close to the ender of the show. As we're getting closer to the end of the show, and when it's a time for you to start sending in those questions, maybe you'll see your tweet pop up here on the bottom of the screen. All right. Now, without any further ado, let's dive in to the first main topic today. And of course, touched on this briefly yesterday on the Movie News Rundown, and that is, it has been announced that Rian Johnson, who's of course just wrapping up Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is opening up here in just about a month, it has been announced that Rian Johnson is going to be launching a brand new Star Wars trilogy. Now, some reports are a little bit conflicting. Some reports that I have read have said that Rian Johnson is going to be writing and directing all three. Some reports are saying that he's just going to be directing the first one. I have looked into it a little bit. I haven't been able to get down to the really rock solid bottom answer. I wrote an email to Disney, but it was kind of later last night. I have not heard back from them to clarify. But whatever, whichever the case is, at least the first one we know he is going to write and direct, and maybe the whole trilogy, who knows. Now, on top of that, this is the other area of a little bit of confusion I have, and I have written an email out to get some clarification, is I hear some people saying online that this won't be a part of the main saga that we have going. This new trilogy of films won't be part of the main saga. However, when I looked at the official statements, I didn't see anything in the official statement. I mean, maybe you guys can point me to something, because this is the great thing about being in a fan community. We can share information. I don't always have the answers. Maybe you guys have the answers, but I was not able to see any official word from anybody specifying whether this new Rian Johnson trilogy that he's launching is going to be the next, like, episode 10, 11, and 12, or it's going to be something different. I see a lot of sites online saying, oh, could he be doing Old Republic? Could he be doing this? Could he be doing that? But then when I look at the official statements, I don't see anything in there specifying. So maybe you guys know something about this that I don't. Maybe you guys have a good link to something. Remember, I don't want to link to somebody speculating. I'm wondering about if you guys have links to anything that's official, like from Disney or Lucasfilm, from Rian Johnson, from Kathleen Kennedy, from anything that specifies that, because I myself didn't see anything. So let's just call that a gray area for now. Let's stick to what we know. We know there are at least 3 more, a brand new trilogy on its way, and Rian Johnson is going to be involved. And you know, I also mentioned this in the Movie News Rundown the other day, that when episode 9 was, they got rid of Colin Trevorrow, and they needed a new director. A lot of us, including myself, speculated that maybe that new director could be this guy. Maybe the new director would be Rian Johnson. He was wrapping production on The Force Awakens, or The Last Jedi, I should say. Everybody raves about the job he did on that movie. There were no production hiccups that we heard about at any rate. Everybody seemed extremely happy, and obviously he's an incredible filmmaker, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they went over to J.J. Abrams, which is fine. I'm very happy with the J.J. Abrams selection. I really am. But a lot of us wondered, gosh, I wonder, like, when you looked at Rian Johnson's upcoming movie slate, he had no other projects lined up. So it's not like he didn't have time. We thought, well, why don't they just get him? Like, he's wrapping The Last Jedi. Why not just roll him right into episode 9? And now it looks like we know why. They were carrying on discussions behind the scenes, not just for episode 9, but for a new trilogy of films they wanted him to be a part of. And so that's cool. And one of the other things that this signifies to us, which I think is probably something we should expect Lucasfilm to do for a while. Lucasfilm, the one big area of trouble they have had lately has been in the area of getting on the same page with new directors. Clearly. Whether you're talking about Colin Trevorrow, whether you're talking about Lord and Miller, whether you're talking about Josh Trank, who is going to do a Boba Fett movie, apparently. Clearly, they've had trouble getting on the same page as new directors. So, when they needed a new director for Han Solo, they went to Ron Howard, somebody Kathleen Kennedy has a long history with, a tried and true Hollywood directing talent. They know he's reliable, so they went with him. When they needed a new director for episode 9, they didn't go out and look for somebody new. They went back to somebody they already know they can work with and be on the same page with, so they got J.J. Abrams. And now they're coming off of The Last Jedi, which they finished filming. They know they can work with Rian Johnson. They know his vision. They know they're on the same page with him. So that really should create no surprise for any of us that they went to Rian Johnson, which is great, and I'm super happy about it, and I couldn't be more excited. Now, a lot of people ask me, what do you think the new trilogy is going to be about? I have no clue. We have 2 more episodic films to see. Like, we're so far removed right now from this new trilogy, we have no idea. Look, we don't have any idea where the Star Wars universe is going to be after episode 8, let alone after episode 9. So we're a little over a month away from finding out where episode 8 is, so I can't really even begin to speculate about what the overall story arc of a new trilogy would be. I don't think anybody can. We're going to have to get a little bit closer to the launch of this new movie, or at least a little bit closer to the end of episode 9 before we can really speculate and have much of a, informed decision or an informed guess, if you will. A calculated risk that they may be taking on this. Who knows what it could be, but we'll have to just wait and see. Anyway, I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to want to talk about that when we get to the live questions at the end of the show. Get them ready to fire those things off. All right, let's move on now to the topics that you guys have sent in to me, and we'll start off with topic number 1, sent in by Brian Knight, who writes, you mentioned Nolan and Tarantino prefer to use only film when making a movie. With most movie theaters shifting to digital and downloading films from the studios, will these 2 directors have to accept digital simply because there may be no theaters left with film projectors? All right, thanks a lot for the question. And one of the things Brian is referring to is that there are a very, very select few handful of directors left out there, may not even be a handful, that today still insist on shooting their movies on film. Christopher Nolan likes to do that, although Christopher Nolan is not opposed to digital. Quentin Tarantino, though, he is that old guy, get off my lawn. He wants his old school film. He's grew up making it on film. He's had all the success making movies on film. He wants to make his movies on film. To hell with whatever the advantages are of shooting on digital. He wants to do it on film, which is fine. He's totally within his right. So the question is, with a smaller and smaller number of theaters actually in America, and there ain't many left, that actually have an old style film projector in their theaters instead of the digital projectors these days, are guys like Nolan and Tarantino going to have to at some point just give it up? Well, here's the thing. Just because you shoot, and you'd be surprised how many people didn't realize this, and that's totally cool. Just because you shoot a movie on film does not mean it needs to be projected on film. Movies that shoot on film are then converted to digital for digital projection. That's how it works. Because, look, Hateful Eight, which very famously, Quentin Tarantino's last film, which didn't do all that well at the box office, but Hateful Eight was very famously shot on film, more than film. I believe he shot it on film 75 millimeter or something like that. Anyway, that movie played on 2,500 screens in North America. Do you think there are 2,500 screens in North America that still have old school projectors? There do not. They're much, much, much tinier number. So they shoot on film because they like shooting on film. They like the look that film gives them. And then once they have that pure image, and they'll transfer that to a digital version for projection in most movie theaters, but they still prefer to shoot it on film. Guys like Tarantino still would prefer to have it projected on film, but unfortunately the rest of mankind doesn't necessarily agree with him, and we like the digital age. So yeah, just because Nolan and Tarantino shoot on film doesn't mean they need film projecting theaters to show their movies. So that's not going to affect them. What's going to affect guys like Tarantino and Nolan who like to shoot on film is that we are not far away from there being no company left. I could be wrong about this. I think there's only one company left that even makes film stock. I believe there's only one company left that even makes film stock, and they're losing money. So even they're not going to do it that much longer. The big hurdle that these guys are going to have to face is that nobody makes film anymore. And when nobody makes film anymore, they won't have film to shoot their movies on, so they'll be forced to go over to digital. So yes, at some point, guys like Tarantino and Nolan will be forced over to using digital just because they won't have any other option. And which makes me feel bad for them because I know they love it so much, but I also, it's time. It's time to move. There are no excuses left for shooting using film over digital anymore. There's no excuses left. The technology's come so far. Anyway, so there you go. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Jim Copelin, who writes, Taika Waititi has been on record saying that Disney/Kevin Feige really allowed him and the rest of the cast to be spontaneous and improvise a lot of Thor Ragnarok. I know a lot of different factors play into this, but I'm just curious on why Disney put trust in Taika in that respect, but not allow Lord and Miller to do the same filming solo, and not let them try and fulfill their vision for the film. Thanks. Well, yeah, so obviously Thor Ragnarok, the big film in theaters right now, at least until Justice League opens. So that's the big thing right now. And Taika Waititi did a magnificent job with this film. He did a fantastic job with this film, and it is truly a Taika Waititi film. I remember it was maybe going on 6 months ago now. I was at the Disney lot with a bunch of other journalists, and Kevin Feige was kind of giving us a little tour around Marvel and giving us some insights on all new stuff. And he brought us into a room. We didn't know he was going to be there, but they brought us into this room where Taika Waititi was. It was like, oh my gosh, like we're in this like big living room area over at Disney. And he showed us about 10 minutes of Thor Ragnarok at the time. And Kevin Feige that same day mentioned to us, Thor Ragnarok is definitely a Taika Waititi film. And I remember thinking, well, the guy who made What We Do in the Shadows, okay, I'm sure there's going to be a couple of Taika-style jokes and humor in it, but you're not really going to let him make Thor Ragnarok a Taika Waititi film. Clearly, Thor Ragnarok is indeed a Taika Waititi film. So, well, if you gave him that kind of freedom to do it, why didn't they give it to Lord and Miller? Well, because they're two radically different scenarios, and two radically different film franchises, and two radically different sets of circumstances. Okay, with Thor Ragnarok, Marvel knew, we want to go with Thor, more humor heavy. Taika Waititi's the guy to do it. And they were able to lay out, this needs to happen in the film, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen. And they lay out a bunch of thumb pins in there that say, hey, Taika, these are the beats that this movie has to hit. But we want it to be lighthearted at the same time. We want, amidst all the tragic stuff going on in the movie, we want it also to be kept light and funny and fun. So as long as you hit these major street signs, as long as you get to these major criteria for the film, they lay out maybe 12 things. This needs to happen in the movie. This needs to happen. This needs to happen. This needs to happen. As long as you can do that, we sign off on the idea of a fun, funny Thor. Go ahead, do your thing. And so that's what Taika Waititi did. He made sure the movie hit all those major criteria that the studio laid out. And they wanted the film to be funny and humorous and exciting and all that kind of stuff. So he went with it. So in that situation, Disney can go, yeah, go do your thing, man. The Lord and Miller on Han Solo thing is a very different situation. It's a very different situation. Number one, the movie that Lord and Miller were actually making was not what Disney signed off on. Disney, along with Lawrence Kasdan, the writer of the film, they sat down with Lord and Miller, and Lord and Miller said, we're going to make this movie. We'll put some of our Lord and Miller humor in it too, but we're going to make this movie great. What became apparent to Disney and Lawrence Kasdan as the screenwriter, who was particularly upset, was that Lord and Miller were not making the movie they agreed to make. They might have been hitting some of the major criteria, but Disney did not sign off on the tone and the direction of the movie that Lord and Miller were making. They had an agreement as to what they wanted to make, and Lord and Miller were just kind of going off and doing their own thing. And Star Wars is not a property that you can do that with. The Han Solo movie was not Lord and Miller's movie. They were just a steward of this Star Wars property. All directors today that aren't named George Lucas, the Star Wars movies are not their movies. They are just temporary stewards of it that need to care for the property. And Han Solo is an established, beloved character for generations with film. You don't just get to come in and do whatever you want. It has to stay consistent within this universe. You sat down with the screenwriter and you sat down with the president of Lucasfilm. You agreed to what kind of movie you were going to make, and then you just decided to make something different. That's different. Taika Waititi and Kevin Feige were on the same page before they started shooting the movie, and Taika Waititi was consistent with the type of movie they agreed to make. Kathleen Kennedy and Lord and Miller sat down and agreed what kind of Han Solo movie they wanted to make, but then Lord and Miller started making a different kind of Han Solo movie separate from what they agreed upon. So there you have a completely different scenario. Well, why not just give the directors freedom? Because the directors are going to make their movie and then leave, and then Disney is still going to be sat there, or Warner Brothers, Universal, or Paramount, whichever the studio it is, with whatever franchise you're talking about, the studio still has to be there and deal with the mess that you made as the director. You came in, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, did your movie, whatever the hell you wanted to do, and then you left. But now these guys got to stay behind and deal with the movie that you made. And so, Kathleen Kennedy said, you know what? No. This isn't what we decided. This isn't what we agreed on. You gots to go. And she removed them and brought in Ron Howard. And we'll see whether that's for good or for ill. And look, I love Lord and Miller. I love their movies. I got a big kick out of it. But, it just sounds to me like they were not making the right Han Solo movie. And so they got yanked. And that's the difference between the two situations. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Patreon supporter Ian. And Ian writes, after Lucasfilm's announcement of Rian Johnson's new Star Wars trilogy, do you think that they made a mistake in their announcement timing? Should they have waited until after The Last Jedi or even after Episode 9 before announcing the news to build up more hype? What are your thoughts? Thanks, and may the Force be with you. Yeah, it's funny. I'm seeing a lot of people online criticizing the timing of this announcement. It's like, why would you announce Rian Johnson doing a new trilogy now? Why don't you wait for 4 years? Really, though, when you stop and think about it, it's brilliant. Why? Here's why. Because we're just over 1 month away from the launch of Star Wars The Last Jedi. All right? You want to keep the buzz rolling. You want to keep the momentum rolling. How do you do that without putting out new trailers or new TV spots? Something that more and more people are complaining about when there's too many TV spots and too many trailers. Well, how do you stay front and center in the news cycle and keep this movie in front of film fans' attention without putting out a new commercial or a new TV spot? I got an idea. Let them know, because look, if they don't announce it, some magazine, some newspaper, some movie news website is going to find out and leak the story themselves. Let's announce and keep Star Wars in front of everybody's attention by announcing that Rian Johnson is coming back to do a new trilogy. And look what else that does. By announcing not just that we're doing a new trilogy, but by announcing Rian Johnson is going to be spearheading this thing as we launch this new trilogy. What that says to the audience implicitly is, hey guys, Rian Johnson, wait till you see what he did on The Last Jedi. We are so confident in Rian Johnson. We are so pleased. This is the message underneath the message. The message that Disney is sending to fans is, oh my God, guys, wait till you see what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. That's what they're saying. They're saying, we love what he did so much on The Last Jedi. We are so confident that you're going to love what he did on The Last Jedi. You should be buying your tickets for The Last Jedi right now because he's so good. We've signed him to a deal that's still years away for him to spearhead a brand new trilogy. This is marketing genius. Absolute marketing genius. No question about it. No ifs, ands, or buts. This was a brilliant stroke of marketing. With a simple announcement about something that was going to leak anyway at some point, you, number one, kept Star Wars front and center in the news cycle when we're just a month away from the movie coming out. Number two, you just found a way to brag to all the movie fans about how awesome of a job Rian Johnson did on The Last Jedi, because now we're like, oh my God, how good must The Last Jedi be? How good must that movie be if Star Wars is now signing this guy to spearhead a new trilogy? That's the implied message. That's what the message they're trying to get across to fans. And I think it's a stroke of genius. I understand some people aren't comfortable with them announcing it this far in advance. That's fine. But I think it was total genius. Absolutely, I think it was a great move. All right, we got another question here. And the next question comes to us From HGWells, who writes, with Ridley redacting Kevin Spacey from Ridley, by the way, is Ridley Scott, the director of the upcoming movie All the Money in the World. With Ridley redacting Kevin Spacey from All the Money in the World, will the home viewing market for Baby Driver crash and burn? I was looking forward to streaming Edgar Wright's Hollywood blockbuster, but now I don't know. Can this movie recover its reputation long term? Well, you know, guys, as whenever a huge, explosive drops, there's damage and there's collateral damage. And yeah, Baby Driver is, out there home video, but not just that. We're getting close to Oscar season. And Baby Driver had a few legit claims to some possible Oscar nominations. But now this whole fiasco and disaster with Kevin Spacey, this could throw a wrench in a couple of things. Thing number one is home video sales. Is this going to hurt the Blu-ray sales? Is this going to hurt the home streaming sales? Is this going to hurt all that kind of stuff? That's something that I'm sure they're looking at. I'm sure the damage will be minimized a little bit. What could be a bigger problem, though, is when we get into Oscars. Is Kevin Spacey's presence, with all the fiasco going on in this movie, going to turn off some Oscar voters? In theory, it shouldn't. You should be judging the movie for the movie, not for whatever creep might happen to be involved in it. There are 1,000 people involved with Baby Driver. Yeah, one of them's, guess what? I guarantee you there's more than just one. I guarantee you there are a few people who are worse than Kevin Spacey in Baby Driver, whether they were crew members, whether they were in their cast, whether they were the lunch preparers. There are a lot of people involved in this movie. So in theory, it shouldn't affect the Oscar voters, but we're all just human. Things affect us. News like this affects us. So could this Kevin Spacey thing affect them? It is very possible, and it will be one of the real unfortunate situations, one of the other, pieces of collateral damage in the wake of Hurricane Kevin Spacey controversy that gets hurt and gets damaged, and that would be unfortunate. It really would, because Edgar Wright deserves all the success in the world for Baby Driver. This movie's magnificent. And it is by far Edgar Wright's most financially successful film he's ever done. And so I feel really badly for Edgar Wright in this type of scenario, in this type of situation. I hope Baby Driver, for the sake of its own merits, not because of the actions that happened previously with one of the guys who's in the film, I hope that his actions don't affect the overall success of the movie. But you never know. Things like that do happen, and we're just going to have to keep a close eye on it. All right, guys, listen, I got one more email topic to get to, and then I'm going to go to your live questions. But before I get to that one email topic, I'm going to just take a second here and do my daily commercial break. Check this out. For those of you who have followed me for any period of time, you guys know that I made the decision recently to leave the corporate overlords. I no longer wanted to work for corporations. I wanted to be an independent content creator. And the only way I've been able to do that is by the support of my Patreon supporters. So what I would like to do is to ask you guys who watch my shows, who spend any amount of time with me every single month, to consider going over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. There you'll get all the information about what exactly does it mean to be a Patreon supporter of mine? What does being a Patreon supporter do for helping to make sure that shows like this one and all the other shows I do here on my channel can actually be produced? And on top of that, what benefits are there to being a Patreon supporter? And maybe if you guys can check that out, if you decide you want to be one of my Patreon supporters, that would be awesome. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. I'm just happy that you guys have decided to be here today and be a fellow movie fan and join us in the conversation. So go and check out the website, see if you want to become a Patreon supporter. And now, let's get back. All right, guys, thanks for checking that out. Let's get back now to the real stuff, as I have a technical glitch there. This is what happens when you do the show all by yourself and you don't have a full-time staff of 23 people anymore. Anyway, that stuff happens. All right, let's get to the last question now. The final question. You guys who are watching live and waiting so patiently, get ready to send in those live tweets. The last question today in email comes to us from Frank Johnson, who writes, "Big fan from London, Ontario." Oh, man, I love London, Ontario. Me and my buddies in Hamilton. London, Ontario is a great university town. When we were in high school and early college days, I mean, if you wanted to go and try to meet some pretty girls on the weekend, London, Ontario was the place to go. I used to love London. Anyway, Frank Johnson, big fan from London, Ontario, just got a bunch of snow. Oh, I miss snow, man. That's the one thing I don't like about living in Southern California is I don't actually get a winter. Anyway, with Rian Johnson, a lot of people want to talk about the Star Wars thing today. With Rian Johnson being signed on for a new trilogy, could he one day be the Kevin Feige of Lucasfilm? He is a master storyteller after all. Does Lucasfilm need a person like Feige to direct the overall narrative of Star Wars? Could this be Johnson, or is this essentially Kathleen Kennedy's job already? Cheers. And actually, dude, yeah, you just kind of answered your own question. Look, think of this situation in terms of Marvel. If you're trying to draw comparisons between the Star Wars situation and the Marvel situation, then let's carry that through. Rian Johnson isn't so much the Kevin Feige as he is temporarily the Russo brothers over on the Marvel side. The Russo brothers did Captain America Winter Soldier, loved it, Captain America Civil War, and then now they're doing Avengers Infinity War, and then they're going to do Avengers 4. So they signed up to do this big overarching thing throughout their main team-up movies, right? But that doesn't make the Russo brothers Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is the Kevin Feige of Marvel. Yes, the Russo brothers are doing this big overarching thing, but they're doing it under the approval and guidance of Kevin Feige. In terms of Star Wars, it's the same kind of relationship. Rian Johnson is not the Kevin Feige of Star Wars, nor is he becoming that. He's becoming the Russo brothers of the Star Wars universe. The Kevin Feige of the Star Wars universe, actually with more power than Kevin Feige, is that lady right there, Kathleen Kennedy. She is the one who is overall in charge, giving approval and overall direction. And remember we said about how Kevin Feige gave Taika Waititi, hey, look, do your movie, but you got to hit this point, this point, this point, this point, and this point, and we're going to make it this kind of movie, and then if you stay within all that, go and do your thing. Kathleen Kennedy is the one who says to Rian Johnson, here's the landmarks you need to hit. You need to hit point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, keep it this kind of movie, and then within that structure, do your thing. So, yeah, Rian Johnson is more the Russo brothers, or even the Joss Whedon at one point of Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy is the Kevin Feige, and she's going to be the Kevin Feige of the Star Wars universe for quite a while. Even more powerful than Kevin Feige, actually, within her realm, other than that. All right, guys. I said we would take some time to take your live questions, and we're going to do that right now. Special hello to all you guys already there in the live chat board watching. Check out, make sure you go over to follow me on Twitter at John Campea and get ready to send in your tweets there. I will now open up my Twitter stream here and we will see what questions are in there today. And we were going to start with this one. This one comes to us from, here we go, Twitter Things Now. Move a Megzig. John, even better than Justice League. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's you did that tweet out of context. Let's get this one. This one comes to us from Vlad K82, who writes, John, what's up with the embargo lifting one day before Justice League is released? I have my tickets as an audience member for the 15th. Yeah, look, there was a report, and the reason I didn't bring this up in my main stories, because I knew one of you guys would bring this up in Twitter, is it's now being said that the embargo date, instead of lifting on Wednesday, which is one day before Justice League opens, it's now opening. The embargo date is now being released 10 minutes before Wednesday at 11:50 p.m. on the Tuesday, which is still essentially like you're within 48 hours of the movie opening. I have not seen anything official. I saw a couple of websites report that, but I haven't seen anything. It very well could be totally official, could be completely official. But I didn't see anything from Warner Brothers saying that the embargo lifts on Tuesday night at 11:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I saw I saw one website report it. Then I saw 20 other websites pick up on that website's report, but I haven't seen anything from Warner Bros. So it very well could be true, could be absolutely true. I don't know anything about that yet. As far as I'm concerned, the embargo still lifts on Wednesday right now, but it could be late Tuesday night. That's quite possible too. Either way, we're getting close to those Justice League reviews coming out. Okay, this one comes to us from Unknow Me. It's Assad who writes, John, what's next for Zack Snyder? He's out of the DCU now. What should he do next? I want him to complete the 300 series. No. No, I don't want Zack going back to 300. Zack is a creative guy. Zack is a creative force when it comes to filmmaking. I don't think the next thing you should do is turn around and go back to something he already did. No, now it's time for Zack Snyder to do something new, something creative. Remember we just saw, what was it, Bullets, Blood, and Violence, whatever the name. He did that short film of his that he put out online, which was great to see. Look, here's what Zack Snyder should do. Zack Snyder should continue to take as much time as he thinks he needs for him and his wife and his family to really deal with the tragedy. But John, it was so long ago. Look, until you lose a daughter, and I have not lost a daughter, so you and I are in no position to tell a guy who's lost a daughter that tragically and in that way how much time he needs, okay? He and his family gets to take however much time he and his family needs. Even if he doesn't need more time, if he feels his wife needs more time, if he feels his surviving kid needs more time, whatever, he should take as much time as he needs. And if that's 6 more months, great. If that's 6 more years, great. He should do what he wants to do. It was great to see him get back in the saddle a little bit and do a little short film that he did digitally with, I think he shot it with an iPhone online. That was great to see, to get his creative juices going again. Once he's taken enough time that he feels he needs, then he should do an original film, a new original film. Get a little smaller again, lower the budget a bit, do something like that, really get his creative juices flowing again. Because when Zack Snyder is firing on all cylinders, we get movies like 300 and we get movies like Man of Steel. When he's really fresh and he's firing on all of his cylinders, he is a high-level director. I'm not saying Zack Snyder is one of the top 5 directors today, but he is a high-level director. And I would be excited about seeing whatever his next thing is. I think he should take some more time till he feels is ready and then do something new. Don't make your first thing going back to do a sequel. Like, don't do that. Do something original and something new. Let's see. This one comes to us from Luna Comic Books, who writes, John, what do you think of the new Billy Batson casting? Asher Angel playing Billy Batson. Well, I don't sit around all day watching the Disney Channel, so I have no idea. Look, the kid's got a good look. If they say he's the right guy for the part, I give Warner Brothers the benefit of the doubt and he'll be the right part. To be honest, I don't care all that much about the child actor. There are some great child actors out there. I'm not saying he's not going to be a great one, but I'm saying my default, and maybe this is wrong of me to think this way, but I'm just being honest with you. I don't care who the child actor is. I don't really care all that much about Billy Batson either. I care about Shazam. Maybe that's narrow-minded of me. Might be. And maybe that's something I need to overcome and grow as a person over. But I don't care about Billy Batson. I don't care about whichever kid actor they get to play it. Hopefully the kid does a great job and maybe he'll blow my socks off us. But going into a Shazam movie, I care about Shazam. I care about the job that Zachary Levi is going to do as Shazam. That's what I care about. I care about the Mark Strong is going to be the villain. At least it looks like that's the way it's going to turn out. That's the stuff I care about. So, and besides, I don't know Asher Angel from a hole in the floor. I really don't. I don't watch Disney TV. I don't watch the Disney Channel. I know nothing about this show. I don't even remember the name of the show that he's on. So I'm sure he's the right kid to do it. I hope he does a great job. Looking forward to seeing what he does. But honestly, other than that, I don't really have much of an opinion. All right, let's see this. King 9 Hassan R writes, John, who would be your choice for the new Terminator? I'll give you the same answer I always give everybody who asks, John, which actor X should play role X? I don't care. I don't care. As long as it's a talented actor. That's all I care about. As long as it's a talented actor, then I'm fine. I don't care what the answer is above that. Okay, next question comes to us from Elijah 1989-930 writes, John, hey, John, love the new camera. Any chance we might get an Infinity War trailer this month? Thank you very much. I got a new camera. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Yesterday was the first day I tested out the new camera. And some of you guys noticed there was some frame rate issues with the camera. That was me going through some learning curves. I had to get a few videos under my belt. So I got this new version, this new camera. I'm really happy with it. I hope you guys let me know. Just give me a quick little comment. Do you like I mean, obviously the quality is much higher than the last camera too. So, but anyway, jump down and leave me your thoughts about the new camera. Let's see. This next one comes to us from TV Royale, who writes, John, how long should DC TV shows last in your opinion? However long you still have good stories going. Like, I reject, I'll be honest with you, I completely reject this notion that, that show should go 4 seasons. Shut up. I mean, come on, seriously, shut up. If they have a great narrative line going and they have a lot of momentum and they feel like they still have a lot of great story threads to pursue and great directions they can take their character in, keep it going. Go 8 seasons, go 10 seasons, go 20. I don't care. You start to wind down the show when the showrunners feel, hey, we feel like our story arc is coming to a close. We feel like we're running out of new things for this character to do. When you come to that point, then it's time to start thinking about wrapping up the show. But if you still feel like you're coming up with fresh ideas and you still feel like there's lots of places for your character to go and the audience is still tuning in and watching your show, there is no should be length of time that a show should be. Every show is different and unique. Some shows, which are some of the best of all time, you can tell watching them, okay, yeah, they finished this one up after 4 seasons. That was perfect because they were coming to the end of their rope in that one. That's great. There are some shows that are going on season 12 and they're still rolling and they still have momentum and they're still working great. So you should never approach any TV show with a should be length of season that it runs. Let the show take on a life of its own and let it tell you how long a particular show should run. Anyway, that's just my thought and philosophy on that. All right, what's up next? Here we go. Waken55 writes, John, hey John, what famous people deserve biopics? For me, Chuck Berry, Nellie Bly, Robert Capa, Jack Kirby, and Carrie Fisher. Honestly, nobody deserves a documentary. It's not whether somebody was a great celebrity or what. It's who has really interesting stories that an audience would be intrigued by sitting down and watch happen on screen. Carrie Fisher is one of those stories. If you know anything about Jack Kirby is definitely one of those stories. I agree with you on that. But it's not about who deserves. It's not like if you lead a certain type of life, you deserve to have a documentary made about your life or a biopic made about your life. I don't think that's the way to approach it. I do believe some of the names you brought up here are really great that I would be interested in, but the main question a producer needs to ask himself before approaching a biopic is not, does this person deserve it? Is not, do we love this person? It's really, does this person have stories in their life that will resonate with an audience and actually get people out to the movie theaters to watch? That's the main question they have to ask. And so I think some of those names you listed do qualify under that. I think 1 or 2 of them don't. I'm not going to say which ones and get myself in trouble. Yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. Great question, though. Excellent question. All right, next one comes to us from GameLight7, who writes, not saying it's a bad thing, but does it feel like there is a new assault case with a celebrity every week? Yeah, it does. And look, one of the good things about all this stuff with assault and everything like that. And remember, we're not talking about guys who make advances on women. I mean, that's what we do, right? We're talking about people. So I hear some people online saying, oh, come on, what's the problem? It's just a guy asking a girl out. Why is that? No, it's not. No, it's not. This is some stuff that's really much, much worse. Stuff that I don't even really want to talk about. But one of the good, and I'm not even going to go into much detail here because here we just want to talk about movies, but look, one of the good things coming out about this is that, these women who are getting assaulted, with more and more people coming out now, because we have lived in a culture for a long time where, a woman feels like she's the bad guy if she comes forward and says what happened. She feels like she's going to get humiliated and shamed all over again. And one of the positive things about what's going on right now, and it's a terrible situation what's going on, but if there's anything good that can come out of it, is that it's emboldening women and men, we're finding out, because there are men coming forward too, who no longer have to feel like they're the bad guys by reporting the fact that they were victimized by somebody. So that's a good thing. Hopefully, all the stories, we're nearing the end of all the stories getting aired out. Not because we don't want the stories to come forward anymore, but because hopefully that's all that actually happened. Hopefully we're running out of the amount of monstrous things that were done. And hopefully this creates a new atmosphere of a better environment for women and young men in the Hollywood workplace. So and let's keep this in mind too. We're talking about right now 4 or 5 major Hollywood personalities out of thousands. So I got in this debate online the other day with somebody saying, all of Hollywood is this. It's like, well, you do realize in the music industry it's a lot worse. You do realize like in the automotive industry it's worse. You do realize in the magazine publishing world it's even worse. You do this isn't just a Hollywood issue. This is a women in the workplace safety issue for all the world. Anyway, let's move on to this. Where does it go? Here it is. Sindra Tessolaka1, who writes, John, fan from Norway. Hey, thanks. Do you think the Han Solo teaser will play in front of The Last Jedi? If I had to put $10 on it, I would guess yes, but I'm also not convinced of that. I think we might still be a little bit further away from it, but if I had to right now put $10 on, yes, a Han Solo teaser will play with The Last Jedi or open up online the same week as The Last Jedi, or no, it won't, I would say yes, it will, but I don't feel overwhelmingly sure about that. Let's see. Where does it come? Next one. Joseph Watson 38 writes, John, are you a fan of the new Deadpool poster? And do you think we will see a trailer this Thanksgiving? To be honest with you, I'm not aware of a new Deadpool poster. If there is a new Deadpool poster, it probably just dropped, but I am not aware of it. I haven't seen one. So I will keep my eyes open for that, definitely. Let's see this one. John Campea, Game of Thrones or Stranger Things? Oh, that's easy. Game of Thrones. Easy. I love Stranger Things. And if you saw my review for Stranger Things Season 2, you know I think Stranger Things Season 2 was even better than Stranger Things Season 1. I think it's great. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's nowhere near from a narrative point of view, from a storytelling point of view, from a character point of view. There's just no way that Stranger Things matches up to Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is by far the better show, easily. And that's not a knock on Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things, especially Season 2. I think Season 2 is great, but let's not get out of hand here and try to compare it to Game of Thrones. Not at this point anyway. Okay, I'm going to take just a couple more. This one goes to, let's see, Brian's 1234.5. John, are you planning on changing your background setup? No, not really. Look, remember, I don't work for a corporation anymore. I don't have a studio anymore. I took over the second bedroom in our Burbank home, and I made this into the best working studio that I could. This is about as good as it gets for me. It's one of the, look, there are a million reasons why I really prefer working on my own and not being under the thumb of a corporation anymore. Million reasons. But working under the thumb of a corporation, and I work for some pretty good corporate overlords. As far as corporate overlords go, I worked for some pretty good ones. But one of the advantages of working under the thumb of a corporation is that they have resources you don't, like a studio and 23 full-time staff support for me and all this other kind of stuff. So no, my background is pretty much the background. I mean, I'll swap in and out as I get new hot toys and things like that, but nope, that's my background. Let's see. Last question of the day. This one comes to us from Heston Roberts, who writes, John, after your positive review of Pixar's Coco, with such a sensitive subject matter, would you ever doubt them again? Well, no. Here's the thing. I never doubted that Coco would be good. Like, I never doubted that Coco would be a good film. The sensitive subject matter isn't about whether I think the movie was good or not. And I don't know how good this movie is going to do at the box office. I don't. I still have my concerns and my reservations, because I do think there's going to be a chunk of the movie-going demographic that are going to see that who don't understand Mexican culture like me. I have no idea about Mexican culture. Who are just going to look and say, this is a movie about death and about a kid going into the afterlife and stuff like that. And they may not want to take their kids to go see it. On its surface, it looks like something they may want to question bringing their kids to. Now, they shouldn't. I saw the movie. It's brilliant and fantastic and handles it all very well. But I do have my doubts that this movie's going to like make $120 million opening weekend. I don't think it will. I don't think it'll make $100 million opening weekend. I don't know that it'll make $80 million opening weekend. Not that a movie has to make that much money to be successful, but I'm just saying I'm a little bit concerned. I'm going to be watching the opening weekend box office of Coco very, very closely. It's not a commentary on the quality of the film. It's a commentary on the content of the film, the way it's presented in the marketing that might give some parents pause about bringing their kids to it until maybe they've seen it themselves first. So those are the only things I really have any questions on. Let's see. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. Listen, don't forget, if you like these videos, click that thumbs up button. Do me a favor, stop what you're doing. Click the thumbs up button for a second. Leave a comment below. Make sure you're good to each other. Remember, we're all film fans, all on the same side. Even if we have different opinions about different movies, we're all film fans, and we want to encourage each other to continue to be film fans. So let's remember that as we're interacting with one another. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Share this video around or any of my videos around on your Twitter or Facebook, whatever, and make sure you're following me on social media, simply at John Campea. That will do it for me for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next time, bye-bye.